We're going to end the cardiovascular system by talking about the hormonal control of blood pressure. So when we talk about hormonal control, this gets into long-term and short-term control. With the baroreflex and the chemoreflex, we're talking about short-term control of blood pressure. Okay, when we talk about the urinary system here in a couple weeks, that's where we actually get into long-term control. Okay, and so here are the two outcomes that we're going to get, or we're going to try and cover in 3 slides. This is one of them. Okay, so the sympathetic nervous system affects pressure and volume. And remember that we can increase pressure a couple of ways, right? In a water balloon, we can put more fluid in it or we can squeeze it. All right, and so we've talked about the squeezing, right? But we can also affect the volume. And so we're going to break this down into 2 categories, right? So with blood pressure, so think about in terms of the squeezing, okay? We can release epinephrine, which causes vasoconstriction, so that increases resistance, which increases pressure. We can release norepinephrine, which increases heart rate and increases stroke volume. That increases pressure. Now, we talked about this, or we mentioned it during the endocrine unit. So we've got something called angiotensin II. That causes vasoconstriction, just like epinephrine, and so both of these will increase resistance, which will increase pressure. So that's all about the squeezing and the vessels and that sort of thing. That's short-term control, really. But then we can get into long-term control, which is really having to do with blood volume. So angiotensin II is involved with both of them. It's the only one that is. Okay, so that causes us to hold on to sodium, which causes us to increase our blood volume. Where there's salt, there is water. Aldosterone also causes us to hold on to salt, and so that will lead to an increased volume. Then we've got antidiuretic hormone, or vasopressin. Okay, if we release vasopressin, we hold on to water. That means we're going to have a high blood volume. Or at the very minimum, we're going to maintain. Okay, we're not going to be peeing out extra fluid, or we're going to reduce the amount that we pee out. And then the last one is something called atrial natriuretic peptide, or ANP. Okay, this one causes us to get rid of sodium, and if we get rid of sodium, we get rid of water. So atrial natriuretic peptide causes a decrease in pressure, whereas all these others cause an increase in pressure. And that is the end of the cardiovascular unit. I hope you've enjoyed these last 3 weeks.